Everybody, and welcome back to our next section on the Yoga Sutras, where we are chanting the Yoga Sutras. And we have Danelle Mason, Kriya Yoga teacher from New Zealand, with us again. Hello, Danelle. Good to see you.
Hi, everyone. Hi.
Yeah. Today, we're going to be going through Sutras 129 through 132. And I'm going to do something a little bit different during this particular discussion. While Danelle is doing the chants, I'm going to put up on the screen the English transliteration, I guess, so that you can see the words while she goes to help you chant. Before we get started, let's go ahead and do centering meditation. So you can begin by sitting up straight, closing your eyes, turning your attention within. And directing your awareness away from the mind and into the body. Feeling the breath as it moves through the lungs. Feeling the breath as it moves in and out through the nostrils. Allowing yourself to become centered, grounded, feeling the weight of the body, the strength of gravity grounding you. And the lightness of the breath lifting you up. And bringing your attention to the palms of the hands and the fingers. Sensing the warmth, the pressure, the sensitivity of the hands. Bringing your attention down to the soles of the feet. The warmth, the pressure, the sensitivity. Feeling into the energy of the body. And then feeling up the arms and the legs, scanning the body, feeling where the limbs meet the torso, feeling the belly and the back, the neck and the head. And feeling as though you can sense the breath moving through the whole body on the inhale and exhale. Feeling a lightness and a flow, a softness and a buoyancy throughout the body. And as we chant together and review the sutras, keep your awareness in the body and in the breath, and feel as though you are listening with your whole being and that you are chanting with your whole being. And so finally, we'll honor and acknowledge our inspiration in this discussion and exploration. Roy Eugene Davis, Swami Veda Bharati, and Vyāsa Houston, our inspirations for studying the sutras. Om, peace. Okay, so I will share the screen here. we'll begin with Sutra 129.
Sutra 129. Tata Pratyak-cetana-adhigamaḥ. Tata Pratyak-cetana-adhigamaḥ. Antarāya-abhāvaḥ. Antarāya-abhāvaḥ. Tata Pratyak-cetana-adhigamaḥ. Tata Pratyak-cetana-adhigamaḥ. Antarāya-abhāvaḥ. Antarāya-abhāvaḥ. Tata Pratyak-cetana-adhigamaḥ. Antarāya-abhāvaḥ. Tata Pratyak-cetana-adhigamaḥ. Antarāya-abhāvaḥ.
The literal rendering. From that practice, there's both the attainment of inward consciousness and the removal of obstacles. And this is referring back to the previous sutra that was discussing the repetition of Om, the feeling of Om, and the listening to Om. So it's through that, the meditation on the repeating of Om, that our consciousness goes inward and that the obstacles to our practice are removed. So let's look at each word. Tata. From that, as a result of, referring to the practice, pratyak, inward, inner, cetana, consciousness. So it's the pure witnessing awareness. Adhigamaḥ, attainment, realization. Api, also. Antarāya, obstacles, hindrances. Abhāva, absence, disappearance. And cha, and. So it connects these things. Now, what this is saying is that through the practice of chanting Om, feeling Om within the body as you chant, sinking your awareness into the stream of Om as it's linked to your breath. And when you chant Om, you engage a very important kind of pranayama because you breathe in more quickly and then you exhale more slowly. So on the inhale, rapid breath in or faster breath in. And then when you chant Om, and you let it ring out, the breath is coming out slowly. It's a very important kind of pranayama that directs your awareness inward. And as you become more skilled in the practice, in meditation, eventually you learn to hear the sound of Om, which could be a tone, a frequency, like the sound of crickets. And as you learn to sync your awareness on that, Om develops, your capacity to hear this inner sound, this nada, this pranava develops. And by doing that, again, your awareness is directed inward. And it's always been my experience, even before I understood the little that I do of these things, that whenever I would listen to Om, I would feel better. If I wasn't feeling quite right, if I was struggling with some anxiety or maybe just a little confusion, if I just took some time to breathe, to chant Om, and then to be still and try to listen to that subtle sound frequency that you can hear when everything's as silent as can be, if I would stay there for a while, as long as I could, I would notice that I felt lighter, clearer, and freer. And so that's what this sutra is indicating, that by doing this, that becomes natural for you. And then the obstacles, the difficulties we'll see next, they also dissolve. Sri Īśvara, in his book, The Holy Science, speaks to this, that through Om, we are baptized in our spiritual practice. We are led inward. We are led to what is actually real and true about ourselves. And so all of our practice and all of our Kriya Yoga practice is working to this, working in this direction, working to this purpose of hearing Om, meditating on Om, absorbing your awareness in Om. Okay, let me switch documents here, and then we'll move on to the next sutra. Okay, Sutra 130.
Sutra 130. And it might be worth noting in this one that when a word finishes in an a and starts in an a, it becomes a long a. So you'll notice that a few times in this, like the alasya avidity, alasya avidity. Yeah, so you'll see that come up. Okay, Sutra 130. Vyādi sthana samshaya. Vyādi sthana sanshaya. Pramada lasya vidati. Pramada lasya vidati. Vyādi sthana sanshaya. Pramada lasya vidati. Vyādi sthana sanshaya. Pramada lasya vidati. Branti darshana labdha bhumakatva. Branti darshana labdha bhumakatva. Anavastitatvani. Anavastitatvani. Branti darshana labdha bhumakatva. Nivastitatvani. Branti darshana labdha bhumakatva nivastitatvani. Chitta vikshepas tentarāya. Chitta vikshepas tentarāya. Vyādi sthana sanshaya pramada lasya vidati. Branti darshana labdha bhumakatva nivastitatvani. Chitta vikshepas tentarāya. Vyādi sthana sanshaya pramada lasya vidati. Branti darshana labdha bhumakatva nivastitatvani. Chitta vikshepas tentarāya.
We have a long one, very long one. Let's go through each of the words first. So vyādi, illness or disease. Sthana, dullness, stagnation. It's also like a fixedness. Sanshaya, doubt. Pramada, carelessness, negligence. Alasya, laziness. Avirati, sensual indulgence. Branti, darshana, false perception, delusion. Alabdha, bhumikatva, failure to attain a stage. Anavastitattva, instability, non-maintenance. Chitta vikshepa, distractions of the mind or distractions of the field of consciousness. Te, they. And antarāya, hindrances, so the blocks to progress. Literal rendering: illness, stagnation, doubt, carelessness, laziness, sense craving, false perception, failure to attain stages, and instability. These distractions of the mind are the obstacles. So what are they the obstacles to? They are the obstacles to the purpose of yoga, which is to experience, cultivate the realization of samadhi and that capacity to practice detachment, to have discernment, to see that you are the puruṣa, the pure, changeless, eternal self, which is not prakriti, nature, that which changes, the gunas. And we overcome these distractions again by directing our awareness to oṁ, to Īśvara. And we talked about this in the previous section, that space of oṁ, that is where, as best we can comprehend, where the light or the awareness of puruṣa interacts with prakriti, nature. So it's very subtle. It's way before Any kind of creation happens as we know it. So it's very subtle. And by directing our awareness to this vibration, this interaction that we describe as Om, we are then attuning to Īśvara, which is as close to pure sattva, pure light, pure awareness, pure truth, pure knowing, Mahat Buddhi, as we can get. And from that place, it's like climbing a mountain, and then you can see the view. Then you can see the truth of things, what you are as puruṣa, and what the experience of prakriti nature is. And so we have to direct our awareness there. And the things that get in our way are what? Illness, stagnation, doubt, carelessness, laziness, sense craving, false perception, failure to make progress, and instability. So we can attend to these things on our own by addressing our doubts, not becoming stagnant, not being careless, by managing our sense cravings. We can do a little bit for that on our own when we need to. But once we find ways to direct our awareness inward to Om, and we're pulled more deeply into Om because Om pulls you even more deeply, you will find that it's easier to dissolve these distractions. And then, of course, later on, when we get into Sutra 133 and so on with the Chitta Prasadanam section, we will find other ways to deal with these experiences to also assist your inward flowing consciousness, your inward flowing awareness back to Om. So this whole section of the Yoga Sutras is extremely important because it is telling you ways to overcome the obstacles, what the obstacles are. And this whole section helps to empower the purpose of your yoga practice, the purpose of your meditation practice. So it's really worth paying attention to and chanting these sutras to help bring that into your direct experience and deeper into your field of consciousness. And we'll move on to the next sutra, 131.
Sutra 131. Dukkha daurmanasyangam, dukkha daurmanasyangam, ejayatva, ejayatva, dukkha daurmanasyangam, ejayatva, shvasa prashvasa, shvasa prashvasa, vikshepa sahabhuvaha, sahabhuvaha, shvasa prashvasa, vikshepa sahabhuvaha, shvasa prashvasa, vikshepa sahabhuvaha, dukkha daurmanasyangam ejayatva, shvasa prashvasa, vikshepa sahabhuvaha, dukkha daurmanasyangam ejayatva, shvasa prashvasa, vikshepa sahabhuvaha.
Sutra 131. Literal rendering: pain, despair, bodily restlessness, and disturbed inhalation and exhalation accompany distraction of the mind. So dukkha, suffering, pain, and this is physical or mental. Dauramanasya, despondency or depression, loss of mental buoyancy or low mood. That's an interesting one because we can experience that for many reasons. But this is why I mentioned early on that I found that by doing whatever I needed to with my meditation techniques to chant Om or hear Om inwardly, that sound, I would often find that those things that were not necessarily dealing with serious traumas, but just passing moods and so on, would resolve themselves by chanting Om and listening to Om. Anga me jayatva, unsteadiness of the body. So trembling, fidgeting, inability to sit still. You have to scratch that or move or twist or twitch around. Shvasa, inhalation. prashvasa, exhalation, and vikshepa. Vikshepa is another important word. We talked about pratyaksha early on, but this is another one, vikshepa. This is the distraction, the scattering of the mind. And so we want to avoid those vikshepas. And saha bhuvaha, accompanying, occurring together with. So when we experience pain, despair, bodily restlessness, disturbed inhalation and exhalation, we know that our minds are distracted in some way. And again, as we get further down into the Chitta Prasadhanam section, when it comes to feeling deeply into the body and sensing the breath and making the breath slow and steady, that helps to correct these distractions. It helps to calm down any kind of despair, bodily restlessness, and pain, and so on, as well as listening to Om. So again, all of this goes together. So pain, despair, bodily restlessness, and disturbed inhalation and exhalation accompany distractions of the mind. And I like to focus here on the inhalation and exhalation accompany distractions of the mind, because you might not be able to immediately stop pain or despair or bodily restlessness, because even if you try to force yourself to sit still, you're still feeling like you need to do something. But an activity you can engage in, a very simple pranayama, is to observe the breath and then just do your best 5 to 10 minutes to just make that breath as smooth and steady as possible, not jerky, not lots of pauses, just a nice, smooth, steady inhale, a nice, smooth, steady exhale using abdominal breathing, full breathing. And that can help to mitigate these natural distractions. So anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the next sutra.
Sutra 132. Tad pratishedartam, tad pratishedartam, eka tattva vyāsa, eka tattva vyāsa, tad pratishedartam, tad pratishedartam, eka tattva vyāsa, eka tattva vyāsa, tad pratishedartam, eka tattva vyāsa, tad pratishedartam, eka tattva vyāsa.
/ 132, literal rendering. For the removal of these distractions, these things that we experience when our chitta is distracted, the practice is concentration on one principle. So for the removal of these, the practice is concentration on one principle. Tat, that, again referring back to the obstacles. Pratishedartam, for the purpose of removing or counteracting those obstacles or those blocks. Eka, one single. Tattva, a principle, truth, object. Abhyasa, practice. Now we've reached the point, it's like a boundary between two kinds of sections of the sutras. The next section is the Chitta Prasadhanam, where where Patanjali goes through a series of directions about what you can focus on and how that focus helps you. But for our purposes, we can refer back to what we've discussed in this section and the previous section, that as you engage the meditation techniques that you know, and they can be very simple, you just have to stay with them. When it becomes very quiet, when you feel as still as you can be inside, you can listen and you can see if you can hear an inner sound, or like a subtle sound that even feels like it's around your body, but also through your body. As I mentioned, it can sound like crickets or a high frequency or a tone. And if you can keep bringing your awareness back to that, just keep pulling it back to that and listening, that is tuning to this inner current of Om. And that is focusing on one single principle or truth. It's the principle, the truth, the practice of feeling Om. If you have difficulty hearing that kind of subtle sound, that's no problem at all too, because what you can do is you can spend some time, like I said, 5, 10, 15 minutes chanting Om. And by chanting Om, again, I'm not sure if I have the right sound setting on here so that you can hear it. I'll do it, and you might hear my Om fade away, but it should keep going. Actually, I'm going to stop my share for a moment and turn that off. Okay, so when you chant Om, you'll breathe in, then Om. Breathe in. And you can chant Om for as long as is comfortable on the way out. And when you breathe in, you don't have to make it really quick. You can take your time with it, but you will still find that the outward flow of Om should be quite a bit longer. And doing that by itself, just try it for 5 minutes. And then once you get that last Om after 5 minutes, just sit quietly and listen internally and see if you notice an inner sound. And that's beginning the process of directing attention to a single truth, practicing a single truth. Also, what you can do, these are very simple techniques. You can just feel the breath and just make the breath steady. So you inhale slow and steady. And then just let it go out. And back in. And back out. And I'm moving a little fast for myself, but you need to go for your own pace to where as you inhale, the breath is steady, not choppy, not where it's stopping and jerking, not holding it really at the top or holding it at the bottom, just nice flow up, inhale, and then let a nice flow out, right? So you can incorporate these two things. You can start with 5 minutes of that kind of breathing, just that alone. And then you can spend 5 minutes doing the long chanting, Om, as I mentioned. And then you can spend 5 minutes just listening to whatever you hear in and around you, but listening for that undercurrent of a constant tone or a constant sound. And if you just did that 15-minute practice every single day, you would find a lot of your obstacles removed, and you would have a greater sense of intuitive knowing and an inner calm. And that's really the purpose of what we're getting at here. So in our next section, we will get into the Chitta Prasadana practices, which are another route, another avenue of this one-pointed focus, which is extremely helpful, extremely important. And you'll have to wait on that because we will be skipping 1 week, but we'll be back ready to go in 2 weeks from this section. So let me go ahead and put the document back up again, and Danelle can lead us chanting Sutra 129 through 132, and I don't know, maybe same kind of pattern, chant each one twice, and then you can just go back through and chant the whole thing 2 or 3 times, just to give people the experience.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
All right, so as Ryan said in the beginning, we want to feel this with our whole body. Sitting up tall and relaxed. Tata Pratyak-cetana-adhigamaḥ Antarāya-abhāvaḥ. Tata Pratyak-cetana-adhigamaḥ Vyādi Sthana Sanshaya Pramada Lasya Virati Pranti Darshana Labdhabhumakatva Nivastitatvani Chitta Vikshepa Stentaraya Vyādi Sthana Sanshaya Pramada Lasya Virati Prantidarshana labdhabhumakatva nivastitatvani chittavikshepas tentaraya dukkha daurmanasyangam me jayatva shvasa prashvasa vikshepa sahabhuvaha dukkha daurmanasyangam me jayatva shvasa prashvasa vikshepa sahabhuvaha tad pratishedartham eka tattva vyāsaha tad pratishedartham eka tattva vyāsaha tata Pratyak-cetana-adhigamaḥ Antarāya-abhāvaḥ Vyāsa sanshaya pramada lasya vidati Prantidarshana labdhabhumakatva nivastitatvani chittavikshepas tentaraya dukkha daurmanasyangam me jayatva shvasa prashvasa vikshepa sahabhuvaha tad pratishedartham eka tattva vyāsaha tata Pratyak-cetana-adhigamaḥ Antarāya-abhāvaḥ Vyāsa sanshaya pramada lasya vidati Prantidarshana labdhabhumakatva nivastitatvani chittavikshepas tentaraya dukkha daurmanasyangam me jayatva shvasa prashvasa vikshepa sahabhuvaha tat pratishedartham eka tattva vyāsaha tata Pratyak-cetana-adhigamaḥ Antarāya-abhāvaḥ Vyāsa sanshaya pramada lasya vidati Prantidarshana labdhabhumakatva nivastitatvani chittavikshepas tentaraya dukkha daurmanasyangam me jayatva shvasa prashvasa vikshepa sahabhuvaha tad pratishedartham eka tattva vyāsaha.
Thank you, Danelle. It's good to have you, and always wonderful to hear you do the chants. We'll be taking a break, but we'll be back in 2 weeks, beginning with the Chitta Prasadanam series. And once again, if you're interested in getting more information about Sanskrit and the sutras, I highly recommend visiting the American Sanskrit Institute. Vyāsa Houston is a wonderful resource for this. So we'll see you all next time, and we'll be in touch. Peace.